My name's Phoebe. I've been here at C3 Home for about a year and a half now, and it was with the well-persuaded words of Maddie and Nick Gale convincing me to come for over 3 years now, so glad to be here. I grew up in a Christian home with an awesome mum who was inspired by her faith all of her life, and that just really flowed on to us 3 kids. We are all Christians now and loving our faith, but it wasn't without some interesting moments along the way, and I don't think that it's different to anyone else's story in that it takes a lot of time to really build that faith. So for me, it's been many moments over many years of recommitting my faith to Christ, and at each point it's been drawn deeper, and at each point and each one of those moments I've just understood a new aspect of the loving heart of the Father. But the first one I do remember was when I was younger. I think I was 7, and my brother had a non-Christian friend pass away, and I broke. I didn't know the guy. I had never met him, nor had I really heard too much about him, but it broke my heart so much so that night we were all sitting around the dining room table, and I just bawled my eyes out saying, I need to be a Christian. That was one of the most exciting moments, I think, of recommitting my Christian faith, but that's the first of many. It's been, I think, over the years, a journey of falling away and refinding Christ, knowing that I'm not good enough for it. So I think that was a big part of it, moving to Melbourne and not knowing or meeting a Christian, anyone my age, the entire time I lived down there in like formative teenage years. I just decided that it was easier to go on the wider path and join the crowds and have fun and be who I wanted to be without Christ. And so that's been the constant battle for me, is deciding whether I want to be a Christian who lives God's way or a Christian who lives on the minimum base level Christianity that I can. And it was actually 2 years ago, after many of these circumstances where I've come back to Christ, about 2 years ago now, that I was bawling in a friend's apartment after meeting somebody that was from another religion, and they were very convincing in their way of life. And I just broke. I was like, how do we know that this is right? How do we know that Christ is the real one? Like, this is the right religion. There's so many, like, which do I choose? And she said to me some like pretty powerful things on her way out the door to a party, actually. She said, why are you a Christian? Asked me point blank, why did you stay with this and not decide this ages ago? And I just remembered that flashback to when I was 7, bawling my eyes out at the dining room table, knowing that in my heart, like, God is real. And then we went into a really logical conversation, and I am probably one of the only ones that can fully say that the only reason I am back believing in Christ is, yes, the experiences, but also knowing that historically, like, the Bible is a historical document and so accurate. The logic in it was something that I think needed to come with the experience. For me, I grew up in the faith and being around Christians and grew up in church, and so I did see some pretty interesting parts of the Spirit move, and visions and prophecy and those things being tangibly real in my giftings as well. So I couldn't deny what I had experienced, but it was the uncovering of science for me that's where I found God's beauty even more. And I know people always say that science and God, they don't mix, or science and God, they're opposing, but actually it's inspired my faith. I work in pathology and have studied medical science, and I'm forever in awe of God. The fear of God is so much more real in my life now, having seen the way our cells interact and the way the world was formed in a big bang of God's voice. So I'm just, forever in awe of seeing the gradual experience of how God's created things. With that moment, with my friend on her bed, I was sobbing, and she pointed to some pretty logical things about God's way of living versus my way of living. And for so long I had lived my way thinking it was right, and repetitively it fell apart. And repetitively I realised that I couldn't do this myself and that I wasn't in control, so why am I trying to take control? It wasn't until weeks after going, nah, I've decided to do this, that I jumped straight back into church and got in the community and decided that this kind of a decision, just because, yeah, I think that it's right, now I have to go, no, this is right. I love God, He loves me, and I've seen the evidence of that every day since.